Hello, everyone. I'm Liz. I'm here with Heather, our uh, peer support specialist at the library, and today we are talking about art as a way of doing self-care. This is something that Heather has some experience with, and she's going to talk to us about that today.
Hey everybody, my name's Heather Osborne. I'm the peer support specialist for the library, and in peer recovery, I help other people. With their struggles. I provide resources, and I'm out in the community just helping people. So what I wanted to talk a little bit about today was self-care. Self-care for me is very important. I do a lot of it through artwork. That's how I express myself. When I have any kind of emotion that I'm having trouble kind of enduring or moving on from, I pick up either a pen or a color pencil, and I start to draw out the emotion on a piece of paper. And I did that with painting for many years, and I've actually taught this skill and technique with my daughters, and it's actually really fun for us too.
So I know that, Heather, we have some examples of artwork that you've done. I thought you might want to talk a little bit about those. I'll go ahead and share some pictures here.
Yeah, this one here, I actually spent 3 years in the Marysville Correctional Institution at ORW, and this is one of the first. There was an art class that they offered there for a dual diagnosis for mental health and substance abuse disorder, and it was art therapy. And I was actually able to learn this technique. It was with shaving cream, and you put it like in a disposable pie pan or a cake pan, one of the tin ones. You put shaving cream all in it, and then you take food coloring, and then any color that you want, and then you kind of like squirt that all over it, and then you take a piece of cardstock, nothing that's too thin, because the shaving cream would obviously kind of like make it mushy and it would come apart. So cardstock, we put that on top of the disposable cake tin, and smushed it down, and the colors of the like bled through the shaving cream, and then this is what I got. And then for me personally, that was a very dark time in my life. I was away from my family. I felt very alone. So I saw angels in this, and I took a Sharpie and I actually outlined the what I saw at that time, which my spirituality came out at that moment. So I was really grateful for that. And the next one.
That's really cool, Heather.
Yeah. And this one was a little bit different. We were just, there was a lot of creative ideas in this art class. And I think that was the point, was to open your mind to new ideas. So what we did was we took a bottle of ink, and it had a dropper in it, and we would pull up the ink and then drop little tiny drops on a piece of cardstock. And then we had straws, and this was for stress. So what we would do is take the little straws, they were coffee straws, and we would blow the ink out in several different places to release stress. So that's what that is.
And so it kind of looks like in the straws, or did you drip the ink on the paper first and then blow on it?
The ink would be dripped on the paper, and then take the straw, then blow the ink dots out. And it kind of looks like a Warshik picture a little bit. So I guess you could see whatever you wanted to see in that, depending on what kind of day you're having.
Mm-hmm.
This one here, moving forward a little bit, this is when I first got home from Marysville prison, and I had actually relapsed. I started life, for me, I hadn't acquired the proper coping skills or techniques, or even really the understanding of how to stay clean. So I relapsed, but I knew what I was doing was wrong. But I didn't understand how to turn my life around. So I turned to self-expression. In the song, I started to draw this in my addiction. And because I knew I wanted something different, I wanted a way out. And I knew if I could just gather strength in myself that I'd be able to overcome what I needed to, but I just didn't understand how to. So when I drew this, it says strength, and then there's a woman crying behind it, and the heart has a key in it. And that symbol that's holding the key is actually a symbol of strength. So, and behind it is lyrics to a song that meant a lot to me at the time. And it's about secrets. And the next one is an owl. I actually was able to reach a few short weeks of sobriety, and I started to feel really good about myself. I felt empowered. So I went back to what I knew when I felt well, which was when I was in Marysville. I started to learn about my self-esteem and my self-worth. And I'd actually drawn an owl while I was in prison. So I thought maybe if I could go back to that feeling that I had in prison while I was drawing the owl, that, it would help me move forward and just push me and catapult me forward. So that's what I did with this painting. Is I went from memory of a good time I had in my head, a good place. I was in a good place while I was drawing that owl, and I took that picture and I painted it on this canvas. And it was pretty amazing because, and you can tell like that was an amazing time in my life, because I was self-aware. I was getting to know myself. I was no longer under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So that was a really positive memory. And you can see in the detail from my memory how that impacted my life, feeling good about myself. So that's where the owl comes from. And again, as many addicts, my road to recovery has not been easy. I've had a lot of ups and downs. A relapse is a part of my story, and I feel like that only gives me strength because I am an overcomer. I had relapsed again, and I knew what I was doing was wrong again. And through art, I was able to express, I didn't want to tell everyone that I'd relapsed, that I needed help. I had pride, and ego was such a big thing for me, as it is with many addicts. We don't want to admit that we need help. So through art, I painted this picture, and this was actually an extremely dark time, because I didn't want to let my loved ones down and let them know, like, hey, I'm struggling. I'm using. I feel like, I'm in a really dark place. So when I painted this, it was to let out that hurt and that shame and that guilt that I had for myself. So it's a woman who is vomiting flowers, but they're turning into a puddle of muck, because that's what I felt like I was doing. I was speaking, out things that I thought were okay, and like everybody believed me that I was fine, but really it was all lies. So that's what that one is.
It's a really powerful image.
Mm-hmm. This one actually this was a healer for me. I had gotten into treatment again, and I was actually dealing with grief and loss at this time. And I actually painted this one for my grandmother, whom had passed away while I was in my addiction. I was her firstborn grandchild. I never went to her funeral because I was lost in my addiction yet again. And this right here helped me heal and forgive myself. And I know that she's proud of me. The tree is actually symbolic to the treatment facility that I attended. And I put in loving memory for her, Virginia, Mama. And this one again is another healer. It's symbolic for the treatment facility that saved my life. And I put family on it. And my daughters actually helped me paint this one. So that one's pretty amazing.
They added their own special touch, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think that's the last one.
And a lot of my artwork comes from an emotion that I have, or a memory that I share out loud now. Like that, paint and art has always been a healer for me because it helped me express myself when I couldn't find the words. And for me, that's self-care. And I have a lot of inappropriate art too, from where I was in addiction and I just could not reach out for help. And there's a lot of, it's not painting, it's curse words and just awful, disgusting, ugly things written on a piece of paper that I was actually able to later on find and burn. So that was kind of symbolic because that, that place in my life is no more, that never has to happen again. So, but I didn't understand the coping skills that I think art's a coping skill. I didn't understand how to use it or how to use my own coping skills. So art has always been a big part of my life and I love it. It's fun. Art is fun. It really is.
So you said that there was the art therapy class that you took part in. Was that the first time that you'd ever been introduced to doing art? Was that?
No. As a young child, my mother is diagnosed with mental illness. So, and I'm an only child. So I got a lot of art kits as a kid. And I learned to draw my favorite Disney characters. And I would draw Barbies and clothing and just be creative and learn how to set my own little world, and I started to tell stories with the drawings that I had. And that kind of went from there. I created a talent and I crafted the skill of it and just got better and better.
You've talked about in previous conversations that we've had about this, drawing an emotion. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? Do you sit down with an emotion in mind, or do you just draw and then you are able to identify that emotion? How does that work for you?
I think it's basically that. Usually, no matter if I'm feeling frustrated or happy or sad, usually if I can put a pen to a paper, which I find like a lot of times, if I'm sad or angry, it comes out in a cartoon way. So maybe that's me trying to lighten what is happening. Like I'll draw an angry cartoon face or ears. I used to draw this eye for many years, and it was just like in the strength picture. But in my addiction, I would draw it everywhere, even on the walls of the homes that we lived in. So forgive me, landlords. So I would draw those eyes on the wall. And later on, I learned that it had a really symbolic meaning to it of why I was drawing that. And it has to do with spirituality. So that was pretty amazing.
So you showed me a notebook that you had with you for many years, and that you used for your art, but also to share with other people. Mm-hmm. And one of the things for this program, anybody who registered for this program got a cute little journal with some colored pencils. And of course, Heather and I both forgot to have ours with us during the video. However, anybody who does have that has a nice little blank journal. Do you have any recommendations for people who want to get started in drawing and expressing themselves in those journals?
Absolutely. If you see something that you find beauty in, whether it be a flower outside or even the sun, get you some colored pencils, sit down, look at it, take in that beauty, and then close your eyes and literally see it in your mind and open your journal and start to put that on paper. And it, your first time or second time, there's beauty in everything. So, it doesn't have to be good, but as long as it's good to you and, it's enjoyable. It really is. And it's relaxing and it's pretty good. Art feels good. It does.
All right. Well, thank you, Heather. Thank you for sharing your art with us and sharing your experience with us. And I hope other people get to explore art as well.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.